HOA officials came masked to scare my kids. I met them with a shotgun and 4 cameras. The Karen flowers were blooming again, their delicate white petals mocking the chaos unfolding in my front yard. I'd planted them last spring, hoping their soft beauty would soften the edges of our small, weathered home in Pine Hollow. The Homeowners Association despised them, called them unkempt, a violation of their pristine neighborhood code. But those flowers were my kids' joy, a symbol of our little rebellion against their suffocating rules. Now, as I stood on my porch, shotgun in hand, staring down 3 masked figures in the fading light, I realized this fight was no longer about flowers. It started with letters, polite at first, then threatening. The HOA claimed my Karen flowers were lowering property values. They demanded I rip them out or face fines. I ignored them. I'm a single mom, raising Lily, 8, and Max, 6, on a nurse's salary. I didn't have time for their petty bureaucracy. Then came the notices on my door, the anonymous complaints about my kids' laughter being too loud, my porch light too dim. I installed 4 security cameras after the first vandalism. Someone had spray-painted "Comply" across my mailbox. The cameras caught nothing but shadows. Last week, they escalated. A letter arrived, unsigned, warning that non-compliance would bring consequences. I laughed it off until Lily came home crying. She said men in masks had followed her and Max from the bus stop, whispering about teaching our family a lesson. My blood ran cold. Pine Hollow was a quiet town, but the HOA's grip was iron. They controlled everything: landscaping, paint colors, even holiday decorations. I'd heard rumors of families driven out for less. But scaring my kids? That crossed a line. Tonight they came. 3 figures, faces hidden behind black ski masks, stood at the edge of my property, clipboards in hand, flashlights cutting through the dusk. Lily screamed from the living room, and Max hid behind the couch. I grabbed the shotgun from the closet, a relic from my late husband, and stepped onto the porch. "Get off my land," I shouted, my voice steady despite the fear clawing my chest. The cameras blinked red, recording every second. The leader stepped forward, his voice muffled but smug. "Mrs. Carter, your flowers are a violation. Remove them or we'll do it for you." He gestured to the others who held shovels. Shovels. To dig up my kids' flowers. To scare us into submission. I raised the shotgun, not aiming but making my point. "You're trespassing and scaring my kids. Leave or I'll make you." The air thickened with tension. The leader laughed, a low, mocking sound. "You think a gun scares us? We're the law here." He took another step, and my finger twitched on the trigger. Then, a new voice broke the silence, a shaky, familiar one. "Stop it, Greg." It was Mrs. Delaney, the elderly widow from across the street, hobbling toward us with her cane. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned. "I saw what you did to the Thompsons last year. Ran them out with your threats. I won't let you do it to Sarah." The twist hit me like a punch. Mrs. Delaney, the quiet neighbor who baked cookies for my kids, had been watching the HOA's tyranny all along. She'd never spoken up, but now she stood between us, her frail frame defying their menace. "I've got photos," she said, holding up her phone. "You in those masks sneaking around. I'll send them to the sheriff." The masked men froze. The leader, Greg, apparently stuttered, his authority crumbling. "You don't understand, old lady. This is for the community's good." But Mrs. Delaney didn't back down. "You're bullies hiding behind rules. I'm done staying silent." The other 2 shifted, uneasy, and I saw my chance. "Cameras are rolling," I said, nodding to the blinking lights. "Leave, or the whole town sees your faces." They hesitated, then retreated, their shovels clattering to the ground. As their car sped off, I lowered the shotgun, my hands shaking. Lily and Max ran to me, sobbing, and I held them tight. Mrs. Delaney touched my arm, her eyes wet. "I should have spoken up sooner," she whispered. "After my husband died, they threatened me too. I was scared." That night, I checked the camera footage. It was clear: 3 men, masked, holding shovels, their voices dripping with arrogance. I uploaded it to the Pine Hollow community page, along with Mrs. Delaney's photos. By morning, the town was buzzing. Neighbors I'd never spoken to left notes of support on my porch. But the HOA wasn't done. They sent a final letter, promising legal action, claiming I'd threatened community safety. The irony burned. Days later, the sheriff came not for me, but for Greg, the HOA president. Mrs. Delaney's photos had unmasked him and his cronies. All local businessmen who'd used the HOA to control and extort. The Karen flowers stayed, a quiet victory. But the win felt hollow. My kids were still scared to play outside, and I slept with the shotgun by my bed. The community was divided. Some called me a hero, others a reckless vigilante. The HOA's grip was loosening, but trust was shattered. I looked at the flowers, their petals trembling in the breeze, and felt the weight of what we'd lost. Not just peace, but the illusion of safety in a place we called home. Mrs. Delaney's courage had saved us, but it couldn't erase the fear in my kids' eyes. The HOA's masks were off, but the scars they left ran deep. What would you do if your family was threatened by those meant to protect your community? Share your thoughts on justice and standing up to power.